Hey, a decision, a conversation, a room full of people. And at that moment, nothing really matters but the ability to influence. Hey, welcome to another edition of Influence Today with Terry Lyles and Chet Tart. Glad that you're here today. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Chet.
Influence is an important thing for us. It's not about manipulation, it's about clarity. And we have a special guest with us, Dakota Frazier. Welcome, Dakota. Glad you're here.
Hey, yeah,
And
thank you
you're
for being here.
all about influence.
That's right. That's right. I am for sure.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about, let's go back in case they don't know you. Where'd you grow up and how did you get into this situation of wanting to talk about influence?
Yeah. So
So I put
I
that
grew up.
span like this so that you could fill it in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I got it. No, I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, right
Hmm.
outside of Detroit, a suburb outside of Detroit,
What
and
was it?
what was it? Farmington Hills.
I know I
Farmington Hills.
lived 10 years in Detroit.
Oh, no way. Okay, where were you?
I was in Troy and Birmingham. I had an office in both cities just adjacent to each other.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Those are great areas.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. No, I grew up there, and it really started when I was a kid. I was 8 years old. I was walking to school, and it was a beautiful day outside, but inside I was just torn up. I was looking down on the ground, looking down at the kind of the sidewalk, and I was walking to school one day, and I saw stains on the concrete of my tears, and I was crying about the fact that I just found out my parents were getting a divorce. And it
Hmm.
was really just internally, I was torn up completely, and I wanted to, try to fix it, try to make it better. And when I almost got to school, I realized like, okay, I need to dry up these tears because I don't want everyone to see that I'm crying. And I dried up the tears and went to school, put on a smile, and acted like everything was normal. But the problem was there really wasn't, inside it wasn't normal. So I started asking my friend, who I knew his parents went through a divorce, and I just was like, "What's it like?" and trying to understand how it's going to all work out. And he just was like, "Man, it's not good. It sucks. I miss my dad. I don't see him very often anymore. All this stuff. Even though when they were together it was a problem, at least we were together." And kind of that's what I felt like. I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense." So then when I walked home that day from school, I thought, "Wow, my friend is going through a lot of stuff right now. I'm going through a lot of stuff right now, but we didn't show it. Nobody knows it unless they dig deeper and ask." And I realized that there's probably other people going through stuff like I was, and nobody knows it. So don't know why, don't know how this kind of came into my head, but for some reason I decided that day when I was 8 years old, I made a decision to commit to making someone's day every day. And that decision changed my life forever. So since then, I was holding doors open for people, going and talking to the kid that nobody wanted to talk to, just smiling when I'm walking by somebody, just little things. And I realized that it was helping me feel better about my own situation, and and people wanted to help me and be my friend and all this stuff because I was going out and serving other people. And honestly, since I was 8 years old, my goal has been the same thing every day, is to try to make someone's day every day. And I didn't know it then, but I know it now. I was learning how to influence people,
Hmm.
and it really paid off in the long run. So that's kind of the background of why I do what I do now, which is I coach, train, and I do speaking um, for companies and for associations where I help people with their influence. I help people grow. I help people get to the next level. So that's a little bit of a background, and that's how it all started.
Good.
You
Yep.
started with the Dale Carnegie Group, correct? When you started doing this?
Yes.
How did you get
Yeah, I
interested
was
in that?
in that. Yeah. So I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do out of college. I first wanted to go do firefighting, and that didn't really work out for me because my medical, uh, Well, two things really happened. I'm a person of faith, and this is the most important thing is that during my training as a in firefighting, like one of the last classes, the middle of the class, I just felt like I couldn't listen anymore. And I walked outside and I prayed and I was like, God, what's going on here? And I just knew kind of, I didn't hear an audible voice or anything, but I knew that I wasn't going to do this anymore. And I was like really confused because I thought for sure I'd be a firefighter because I wanted to make someone's day every day. I thought, oh, I could save someone's life. That'd be great, you know? Um, and then had no idea what to do. I went to a community college for 2 years, and I took a class that I think changed my life forever, which was a career planning class.
Hmm.
And in that class, you did all these personality tests and all that stuff that you guys probably know really well in what you do. DISC and Myers-Briggs and all these awesome things that help you. And I didn't know about that stuff at the time, so I started doing it. And I loved it, and I was like, "Wow, this is awesome!" And they said, "Dakota, you got to do something with people. You are a people person. You need to be a manager, a leader, sales, something like that." And so I was like, "Okay, that's what I'll study is business management because everything's a business." And so I did that. I went to Palm Beach Atlantic University down here in West Palm, and transferred down here. And there's a whole story there, but we'll skip it for now. Um, but while I was in school, I was working at a company called Restoration Hardware, which
Yep.
is
Right.
a really high-end furniture store. And yeah, and then they had a restaurant. And I helped open the restaurant in West Palm Beach. Um, and then they made me a trainer and then made me like a manager. And then I got to open a store in Napa Valley and all this stuff. And it was really cool. But I was just got married at the time, and I was like, I don't want to work weekends and nights anymore. And I was still in school actually, so it's kind of crazy. I was doing all this while I was in school, and I wanted to see my wife every once in a while, so I decided to make a shift. And after I just graduated college, the I think 5 days after I graduated, I started a new position as a project manager in construction because I had a connection, all this stuff, whatever. I did that for 2 years, and during that 2 year period, um, I really had a desire in my heart to start a business
Hmm.
and do something where I could help people make someone's day every day in business. And so you probably know a guy named John Maxwell. Probably have heard of that guy before.
Oh, yeah.
um, yeah. So I read a lot of his books in college and I just ate it up and I was like, man, this is awesome. And then I found in one of his books that you could get certified as a trainer and a coach through him, right? With his material. And I called them when I was still in school before I even took the project manager job. And I just, you know, wanted to find out more. And it was a lot of money, especially at the time because I was in college. I didn't have any money. And um, but I decided to make the investment and and become a John Maxwell certified trainer and coach. And um, I learned a lot. And while I was as a project manager, I started project management. And while I was doing that, I studied the Maxwell stuff. All that to say, I started a business, had no idea what I was doing. My goal was to coach business owners and entrepreneurs, and I got a few clients out of the by the grace of God because it was a total miracle because I was literally like 23 or something like that. Didn't know what the heck I was doing. And but I helped people, I was doing a lot of free stuff, which was kind of looking back like, yeah, I just didn't know what I was doing. But so I was barely paying the bills. My wife was working, so that helped. And this was the point where I had to make a decision on what to do because I was about to run out of money. And and I decided to start cold calling all the big dogs in the coaching and training industry. One of them being Dale Carnegie, and they answered. So that's what happened. And something I learned from John Maxwell, and something I'm going to put in my book is a key principle of influencing people is to ask for advice, because everybody. That's the highest compliment you can pay someone is to ask for their advice. So I called, and that was my goal, ask for advice. And I called the local franchise of Dale Carnegie and I asked for the owner, and they put him on the phone, and I just said, "Hey, I noticed you've been successful in the industry." Found him on LinkedIn. Uh, could I buy you breakfast and learn from you? And of course, he said yes. And I told him I'm a John Maxwell coach starting a business. And then basically, we talked for probably maybe an hour or two on the phone. And he was like, we didn't even get to the breakfast part. And he just was like, I wasn't really looking, but I think you might be really fit to work here at Dale Carnegie. And I was like, really? And I was interested. I was not making any money at the time, so I was like praying, like, oh, I just need to find a way to make income and do what I love. And it seemed like the right opportunity. And we had like a bunch of interviews and decided to take the job. I was doing sales, and then I became a trainer, and that's a crazy process. It takes about 2 years to become a trainer at Dale Carnegie. It was harder than graduating college for me, and then very intense program. And then, yeah, learned about the skills of influence. And I also was learning about it from John Maxwell and all these other people I read, Zig Ziglar and all those guys, that everybody loves. And then that's where I really started to grow, started working at big companies, helping a lot of people, training executives that probably made, probably like 10 times what I was making kind of thing. And I just couldn't believe what I was doing. But it was all because of influence. Influence opens doors that money can't open. And I learned that very quickly. So that's where I was. And now I recently started a company called Next Level Influence. And and the goal is really to long term kind of do similar to what Tony Robbins does with the big conferences and really just write books and speak to help people that I'll never meet make a lot of people's day every day. That's kind of the long-winded story of who I am and where I came from and the whole influence thing. I'm writing a book right now also called Influence is Everything, about the 3 levels of influence. So, influence yourself, influence others, and then how do you influence the world or a business or a culture? And that's where we're at.
Nice.
Tell me about yours. You said that learning the Dale Carnegie system was intense. What was
Yeah,
intense
it
about
was.
it compared to what you got out of John Maxwell's coaching?
Mm, mm. John Maxwell's coaching program was good. The problem was, I think it was timing. One of the things was I was taking the course during COVID. Um,
Mm.
but I even think the way it's set up, even before COVID, I don't know how it is now because I heard they did a lot of updates. But when I did it, it was just video learning, watch a video and then that's it pretty much and take notes and then there's a test at the end. But to me that's not the way to learn. And so I did grow and I got really good with the coaching side of things, but the training I think really needed a facelift for John Maxwell's content, to be honest, or something. But Dale Carnegie, the way they do it is intense. I mean, they have levels of certification. So there's a trainer, master trainer, and then a Carnegie master is like the high, it's like the black belt. Um, but just to become a trainer, it typically takes around 2 years to get it done. And essentially, you go through all this content that Dale Carnegie wrote out mostly himself. And then they've added some things over the years, but it's pretty cool. He actually has letters to trainers like, Dale Carnegie himself is like, this is what I want out of a trainer. This is what I expect, da 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 da, which is really neat. And then you go through this kind of process of learning how to coach and learning how to set up activities and learning how to do that first before you ever learn the content. And then once you master that, which takes about a year, you start learning the content and then you put it all together and it's just like amazing, in my opinion. It's probably the best you can get anywhere for facilitation, training, Dale Carnegie. Yeah, I always tell people to work with him if you can, kind of thing. Um, uh, so yeah, it took about
That
2 years.
sounds amazing. To teach you how to run and how to coach before they give you the content.
Yes,
Could you
yeah,
share one thing that very interesting? Could you share one thing that you picked up from that?
totally. One of my favorite things that I picked up was uh, every 2 minutes try to engage people. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, like, don't talk. Like, right now, I feel uncomfortable how much I've been talking because I'm like, I'm not training you guys right now, but I'm like, I want to engage
But it's
more.
fascinating. The story is just fascinating. Yeah. Terry, when you
Thank-
when you train, you do that also. Terry's a trainer also.
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah, it's if you know your content, I mean, I didn't go through those channels. I went through classic psychology training and clinical
right.
psych. But, as I was taught early on, if you can understand people, you can understand the world. So I'm still trying to figure people out. I still
Hmm.
don't understand them because we're all different levels of weird. But, at training,
Yeah,
it's about, you facts tell, stories sell. You got to share a story or two or
that's
three or
right.
four or five. So most of my presentations, regardless of the length of time, is a slide with some information, a story, a breakout, information, story, breakout. You know what I mean? So it follows a similar path as Carnegie. I went through that years ago, and from the Tony
Yeah.
Robbins, Carnegie's, you can go down the list. Great pastors. I know John Maxwell personally. We've done
Mm,
work
mm.
together. I've trained all of his people at Enjoy, which is his
Oh,
nonprofit
ministry.
group
Yeah.
globally. Yeah, so it's
Yes.
just being you. And I think that's the most
Right.
impactful thing I am hearing you say is you found out something about yourself early on that you need to get out to the world. And God works through our brokenness. He rarely works
Yeah.
through our strengths. Our strengths become out of our brokenness, and then we become
Yeah.
strong, so
Right.
good story.
The
Yeah. No.
interesting thing, the interesting thing about it all, Dakota, is that you have this foundation now that you could start your own business because you learn from them. It seems like
Mhm.
psychology took a tour into it also because
Mhm.
you had to learn about how to deal with people, how to talk to them people, how to do a presentation, which I don't think many people do.
Mhm.
I do presentations and get my audience engaged because of my fear of, I want to see if they know it and I want to stop talking. So I give them homework, I give them handouts. Now you dealt with the biggest guys with Dale Carnegie, and one of the thing that impressed me was that one of the biggest leaders is Patrick Bet David, and he called you.
Yeah. Yeah. That
What
was
was
pretty
that like?
crazy.
What was that experience like being with him and his team?
It was really amazing. I knew of him before, which was kind of funny. I knew of him. I saw some videos on YouTube here and there, but I didn't know his whole world until they called me, and then I was like, oh wait, is that guy that I've seen on YouTube? Oh yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, and so looked into that more, and I was like, okay, I got to get this deal. I don't care what, we just got to make this happen. So I actually sold the deal and trained the deal. So I trained them, and basically we did a 1 day how to win friends and influence people program for Dale Carnegie and Valuetainment, and it was for his executive team. It was all the top leaders, including PBD himself, Patrick Bet David. He was in the room for all 8 hours, which was pretty wild. And I've done a lot of training, and I saw a lot of companies not have their head leader in the room, the executive leader in the room. PBD was in the room the whole time. Uh,
Were you
he
nervous?
was kind of uh, you know, yes, of course, but I wasn't as nervous as I thought I would be. Because I knew my material so well,
That's it.
and
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
I knew my material, and I've trained so many different levels of people uh, that they're all just people at the end of the day. and everybody's pretty much the same, even if they make a 10 million, 100 million, whatever, $1 billion, they're all just the same people. I'll never forget one time I was doing I was doing a public speaking program for this energy company up here, which you probably know who I'm talking about. And there was, executives in the room, and these guys, one of the guys, I'll never forget, we do this public speaking thing where we coach you live and then we coach you on video. And I was coaching the guy on video, and we were looking at his video, and I just asked him, like, what do you think you should do to get better here? And he just looked at me with like puppy dog eyes and said, what do you think I should do? And I just for a moment, I snapped out of that moment and started realizing, oh my gosh, this guy has a PhD from Harvard and like nuclear physics or something crazy. I don't even understand what he's talking about. But what I do know is how to deliver and how to be impactful in presenting. And he's asking me for advice. And for me, I just was like that realization of like, respect people and what they do and their trade, right? Like it went back to my project management days when I was like, hire a tile guy for tile, hire a drywall guy for drywall, because if you do the other, it's going to be bad. And so public speaking guy can take care of public speaking. Nuclear physics guy can do that, right? And that's the mindset I came into when I went to go train PBD, and valuetainment was I'm going to deliver something that they probably know a lot of already, but can sharpen. And I usually start my programs that way. Everything I do really is I start with, what's the difference between the best people of all time and the really, really good people? Like, what's the difference between the professional NBA players and the best of all time? Michael Jordan, all these guys, right? Steph Curry. The difference is not that much of a difference. It's actually really small. It's just these little details.
Mhm.
And people are willing to pay a lot more for the little details, 10 times, 100 times more. Like, what's the difference between a $40,000 Toyota Corolla and a $400,000 whatever, right? Car? They get you from point A to point B, but there's these little details that people are willing to pay a lot more for. And
Mhm.
that's what I tell people when you're doing training. We're working on the little details that you might already know, but could tune up a little bit more so that you can be more impactful, more effective in your day-to-day life and whatever you do. And so I start with that. I did that with PBD, and they all shook their head and said, "Yeah, I want to do that." And they had a great time, and I was just blown away. They were all super interactive. They ate it up. They were taking notes. People were coming up. We did like a debrief, which I thought was really cool, because I've never seen that actually, which is sad, but I've never seen that real time where the chief human resource officer, RJ, got up and PBD got up and just were like, okay, so what did we learn from today? Well, I was in the room. What was good, what was bad, all this stuff. And we all talked about, and it was a big conversation with the whole team, which I thought was cool. It was probably 25, 30 people. I can't remember exactly.
Mhm.
And just the live learning session. They're really a culture of learning and getting better and growing and being the best they can be. So yeah, I loved it. It was incredible. And I got to take a picture with PBD
Wow.
and talk to him for a while. It was pretty cool.
Well, congratulations. That must have boosted your confidence. Yeah. We, we,
Yeah.
we do that at the end of every Vistage meeting. I stand up in front. I go, okay, how was this meeting? Who got engaged the
Mm,
most? Who's walking away with the
mm,
most? How did I do? What
mm,
changes will I make?
mm.
When you first start that, no one responds because they never heard of that. But
Right.
when you start doing more of it, people get responsive. Do you do that at the end
Mm,
of yours, Terry, too?
Absolutely. Yeah, I use what's called a WIN cycle, WIN, and it's from the Air Force training. So they do a planning, which comes from the
mm,
Pentagon to an air base. So they plan and then they brief the plan and then they go execute the plan. They come back and
mm,
they debrief the plan, how to go, and then they celebrate. And what I find cool
mm.
in America and most people don't do is celebrate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
so true.
plan, brief, execute, debrief, celebrate. And then you start the win cycle all over again because you never lose. There is no losing,
Right.
it's learning. I tell my son
That's
this all the
right.
time.
That's
You
right.
didn't lose. The points say you lost, But tell me one thing you learned, and we'll apply it, and we'll get them next time. What did you learn?
Amen. Amen. I love it.
Now that
No,
you're starting
that's
your
good.
now that you're starting your new company, Dakota, tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about, so if I call you up and I say I want to hire you, what is the expectations that I can get from you? What will happen to me? Will it be me? Will it be my team? Give me a little insight into, first of all, you thought about this for a long time. Second of all, what do I get by connecting with you?
Yeah. So the main thing that I do is coaching. So executive coaching, group coaching, and depending on what the team needs, everybody's different. Every individual's different. Every group team is different. And so the cool thing is, I have a Swiss Army knife background of kind of anything and everything with people skills and even a little bit of hard skills in business, like structuring your business. So when I first started my company, I worked for a guy named Howard Partridge, incredible guy. And he has a company that helps businesses go turnkey in 3 years or less. And I learned the skills, the hard skills, I guess you'd say, of business where, how do you structure, how do you organize, how do you make it so that you don't have to go to work and you're still predictable, profitable, and turnkey. And so I learned a lot from him. And so it really just depends. Like I work with a few different companies on their hard skills and then coach the executive, like consulting work. And then I work with, the team members. So one of the big ones that I'm working on right now is developing a sales organization-wide sales program where we're gonna figure out the measurables. It's a lot of consulting and then coaching, and then that's what people. And then I can do workshops on anything really, influence. My How do you influence yourself? How do you influence others? How do you influence your culture? Um, that's kind of what I've been doing. But it's really right now. I just started like I don't know 5 months ago. So my my goal is just to work with the people that I want to work with, which kind of I don't have even written out. I just decide who if I want to work with them or not, and then I want to build up this company essentially so that I can go afford to go and travel and speak and sell the book and get more people involved in a sort of a community thing. So right now I'm thankful I'm getting super busy and uh, what I think next thing I'm going to be doing is instead of doing one-on-one coaching, I'll be doing some more group coaching stuff where I get a cohort of people together
Mm,
and that kind of thing. So
great.
that's where I'm at right now. Kind
Well,
of just, bootstrapping it, as they say. So
Terry, any last questions before we wrap up?
No, that's great. Just keep on the road, man. I mean, you're a young man, just keep, you never underestimate what God has put in you to tell others,
mm.
and none of us
Thank
are
you.
a jar or a container. We're a funnel. He pours through us
Mm,
and we pour through others. So I never want to contain information. Anything I
mm,
learn, I am tasked to share.
mm, mm. I
So
love that.
want to ask you, we'll end with one question. What behavior should leaders have in their toolbox in order to be influential?
Mm. The first thing that comes to mind right away is the attitude of learning, of having
Mhm.
the right inputs. My first section of my book is on your inputs and how they determine your outputs, right? And so get around the best people you can, read the best books you can, take the best courses you can, get coached by the best people you can, and you will become the best. And at who you can be, right? It's not even about competition, like getting better than other people. It's about who can I be like who can the best Dakota be, right? And the potential is there. And it goes back to one of my favorite lessons I learned from John Maxwell. He said, the compounding success of consistency. That when you are consistently doing whatever it is you're really good at over time, day in, day out, you're going to not just grow linearly, but exponentially. And so, whatever it is you do, just keep being really good at it, learning, getting all the great inputs, and you will be the best of all time at whatever you do.
Thank you, Dakota. This has been a fascinating conversation. Appreciate that. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that? What is the handle?
Yeah, yeah. So the best way to get in touch with me is just email Dakota at nlinfluence.com. Stands for next level, but nlinfluence.com. And of course, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I haven't been lately because I just had a baby, but
Oh,
but
congratulations.
Congrats. Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, it's been awesome. But I'm about to get more active on that again. Um, so LinkedIn is a great way to connect with me too. Just Dakota Frazier on LinkedIn there.
Thank you.
Great.
So yeah,
Appreciate that.
thank you guys so much for having me on. I want to learn more about you guys. I know that's how it goes in podcast world. You
Sure.
ask the questions, but I can't wait to get to know you more. Especially Terry. I know Chet. I know you really well, but of course we're gonna keep working together and learning from each other. So definitely have questions for you, Terry, and for you, Chet, and then we'll connect more.
Absolutely.
So looking
Thank
forward to
you.
it.
And thank you for
Yeah.
listening to another edition of Influence Today with Chet Tart and Terry Lyles. Our guest today was Dakota Frazier. Look them up. Next level influence. And boy, do we love influence. And you can influence us by, if you like it, please hit the like button, please hit the share button, and also please leave us a comment. Appreciate that. Until next time, this has been Influence Today.